Honorable governors, mayors, distinguished guests, friends, and colleagues from around the world, good day to you, wherever you are in the world, and thank you for joining us virtually for this wonderful 2-year ICLEI World Congress with the theme of Shaping Our Sustainable Urban Future for All. And this session, which is proudly brought to you by ICLEI with many, many colleagues and friends around the world, is specifically focusing on nature, which is the defining moment for the 21st century, as our Secretary General has pointed out yesterday in the opening plenary, that making peace with nature is certainly going to be a priority, not only for ICLEI, but for the entire world in this decade and in the years ahead. So we're very pleased to welcome at the UN level our first distinguished speaker, Elizabeth Mrema, who is the Executive Secretary of the Convention on Biological Diversity, who's going to join us per video in a moment. I just want to alert you to 2 housekeeping rules. Firstly, that this session is recorded and can later be viewed along with all our other virtual sessions of this virtual part of the ICLEI World Congress on the ICLEI website, and the links will be shared with you. And secondly, that if you press the interpretation bubble at the bottom of your screen, it looks like a little earth. If you press there, you will see that you can also listen and view this session in Spanish with simultaneous translation, and you are welcome to choose your language preference there. So without further ado, let us hear from Elizabeth Mrema, the proud leader of the Secretary of the Convention on Biological Diversity. As Executive Secretary, the floor is yours, Ms. Mrema. Thank you.
Dear Mayor Plant of Montreal, valued hosts of our Secretariat, dear ICLEI colleagues, dear executives of subnational and local governments, dear participants, thank you for allowing me to address this session on engaging cities and regions in the global nature agenda. As you all know, the natural world is facing a major crisis. Human society is under urgent threat from an unacceptable rate of loss of Earth's natural life to climate change, pandemics, coastal erosion, plastic pollution, and ocean acidification, to mention but few. Since historical times, cities have been engines of transformation and change, creativity and cooperation. This crisis represents an opportunity for cities and their citizens to mobilize in support of nature. The good news is that nature-based solutions for urban development exist, and they do work. However, they need to be significantly scaled up. While policy and targets for the post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework currently being negotiated are set on a global stage and agreed to by the parties to the Convention on Biological Diversity, we must remember that it is at the landscape and city levels that implementation will take place. Therefore, I particularly welcome the initiative of the city of Malmo to host the 2021 World Congress. ICLEI Malmo Strategy 2021 to 2027 and Action Plan 2021 to 2024 are highly compatible and complementary to the post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework. Greening the infrastructure of cities, including large metropolises, and integrating nature into their consumption and production patterns through the entire life cycle of products and services can greatly benefit nature in cities and conurbations in peri-urban areas, as well as in distant rural and conservation areas. It also benefits people. Studies have shown that urban nature helps create healthy citizens, both emotionally and physically. It can also generate jobs and investment opportunities, particularly for young people in developing countries, and especially through the use of social and technological innovations. ICLEI showed a great deal of foresight and vision when in 2006 it identified nature as an urban issue and launched what was then considered the gold standard of urban commitment to nature, the Local Action for Biodiversity Project. This contributed to 5 complementary decisions between 2008 and 2012, including Decision 10/22 in 2010 in Nagoya, Japan, which saw the adoption of the first 10-year plan of action for cities and subnational governments. Since 2012, urban nature events have been regularly organized prior to its World Congress. The CBD is at present the only multilateral environmental agreement with this feature. And from 2012 to 2015, ICLEI went even further, seconding one of its own staff to work alongside the CBD Secretariat on local and subnational action across all issues and programs of the convention. I sincerely hope and pray that the same positive gesture will be extended again to ensure effective cities' contribution to the implementation of the post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework when adopted. As a result of this unprecedented investment, up to 75% of all recent official strategies, action plans, and reports by CBD parties now include mandates, roles, and contributions from subnational and local governments. With ICLEI and the support of the government of Japan, we have produced guidelines for harmonization of policies across all levels of government. This will now include valuable case studies and reviews through a collaboration with the group of leading subnational governments for the Aichi biodiversity targets in an upcoming information document prepared for the 3rd meeting of the subsidiary body of implementation. Moreover, thanks in part to the unwavering support offered by ICLEI through its Global Secretariat, as well as through its Cities Biodiversity Center and other regional offices, the government of the United Kingdom endorsed the Edinburgh process, a consultative platform that has proposed a revised plan to complement post-2020 Global Biodiversity Framework. With your support, CBD continues to lead on this issue. Another breakthrough achievement of ICLEI has been the organization of official summits for subnational and local governments held in parallel with the Conference of the Parties and in collaboration with the local hosts. COP15 will see the 7th edition of these critical meetings. The documents before the subsidiary body of implementation 3rd session are another valuable testimony to ICLEI's contribution. Your voice is being heard in the official documents submitted by the government of UK, as well as in the various information documents under Agenda Item 11. You are part of the informal advisory group on mainstreaming, and ICLEI, together with IUCN and the Nature Conservancy, have played a leading role in developing and establishing cities with nature, which serves as a platform where cities can connect, share, and report on their actions to protect and work with nature. Together with regions with nature, this platform will provide a big tent, bringing together subnational and local governments, and their technical, academic, and advocacy partners in support of working towards greener and more sustainable future, one that is in harmony with nature and that helps communities reconnect with nature. Through various projects, ICLEI develops and demonstrates solutions on how cities and city regions can plan and work better with nature, implement nature-based solutions, innovate to address biodiversity loss together with climate resilience, disaster risk reduction, and address the social dimensions as well as contribute to global best practice. This is very good. There's no question about that. But it is not enough. We are in the middle of some difficult and uncertain times. Yet one thing it remains very clear. The economic recovery that follows the pandemic must be done green and hand in hand with nature. Cities have a critical, important role to play in ensuring that this is done in a way that benefits people and planet. Therefore, I call upon you, participate and sign on to the Cities with Nature, engage in ICLEI activities related to nature, and join us at the UN Biodiversity Conference and make your voice heard. 2. Support the Edinburgh process and its recommended plan of action. 3. Cooperate with other levels of government on the whole of government and territorial approaches that combine quality of life with low carbon consumption and care for nature. And 4, and lastly, be part of future global initiatives on this issue and interact with all UN agencies. The UN Common Approach provides an opportunity for your engagement, and we look forward to seeing you taking part in our mutual quest to live life in harmony with nature. Thank you.
Thank you very much for those inspirational words coming from a fellow African, Elizabeth Marema, who is the Executive Secretary of the Convention on Biological Diversity. And Elizabeth Marema, thank you very much for the tribute that you paid towards ICLEI for taking up this agenda in 2006. But indeed, we wouldn't have taken up this agenda if it wasn't for our cities and regions, our subnational governments, asking us, as secretariats, as servants to our cities and regions who form part of the ICLEI network, to take up this agenda. And now we're going to learn from them firsthand as to why nature and biodiversity is not something that is outside of cities, but something that is deeply entrenched in the development and prosperity of all life on Earth, including for our growing urban communities. We are first turning at this stage to our newly elected executive committee member, who is leading this portfolio for us, Governor Mauricio Vela de Sal from the Yucatan State Government, Global South, Mexico, who is going to tell us about what they do in the Yucatan and making the important links between cities and regions when it comes to addressing nature, but also highlighting some work that he's planning to do at the global level. So over to you, Governor de Sal, the floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Hola, soy Mauricio Vila Dosal, gobernador del estado de Yucatán. Saludo afectuosamente a Kobe Brandt y a Cheryl Jones, secretarios del ICLEI, a la secretaria del Convenio sobre la Diversidad Biológica, Elizabeth Marema, y a Valerie Planté, alcaldesa de Montreal, con quienes tengo el honor de compartir en el marco del Congreso Internacional del ICLEI este diálogo sobre el papel de los gobiernos locales y subnacionales en la agenda global de la biodiversidad y la naturaleza. Audrey Azoulay, directora general de la UNESCO, ha dicho que la biodiversidad es la fábrica viviente de nuestro planeta, la fuente de nuestro presente y nuestro futuro, frase con la cual no podía estar más de acuerdo. La vida como la conocemos está compuesta por una gran diversidad, donde todos somos parte de la naturaleza y estamos interconectados. La biodiversidad es lo que le da equilibrio al planeta y de ella recibimos todo lo que nos permite permanecer como humanidad. Por ello, hay una responsabilidad de los gobiernos locales frente a la biodiversidad, pues día a día somos testigos de las presiones que aceleran el deterioro de los ecosistemas y las especies, debido a los modelos de consumo actuales y el crecimiento poblacional en las zonas urbanas. Muestra de esta responsabilidad por parte de los países es que en el Convenio de las Naciones Unidas sobre la Diversidad Biológica se aprobaron los objetivos de Aichi para la protección global de las especies, donde se destacó la importancia de la biodiversidad para el bienestar de la humanidad. Sin embargo, también se señaló que las amenazas siguen aumentando, incluyendo el cambio climático, la extinción de especies, la contaminación y el uso insostenible de los recursos. Considero que ya es momento de que todos los gobiernos nos preguntemos cómo vamos con la implementación de las metas de Aichi. ¿Han sido suficientes nuestros esfuerzos? ¿Qué estamos haciendo los gobiernos locales y subnacionales para proteger la biodiversidad? Pues además nos encontramos en un contexto preocupante, donde los gobiernos locales debemos dar la cara a la ciudadanía y atender las demandas que el crecimiento poblacional exige más de nosotros. Según datos de las Naciones Unidas, más del 56% de las personas en el mundo habitan en ciudades. En México, este porcentaje es de alrededor del 78% y en América Latina es del 80%. Además, el World Wildlife Fund ha estimado que más de 3.500 millones de personas viven en áreas urbanas y se espera que esa cantidad se duplique en los siguientes 30 años. Con todo este crecimiento inevitable, las ciudades consumen gran parte de la energía y generan la mayoría de las emisiones de gases de efecto invernadero. Pues a pesar de que la naturaleza nos provee de alimentos, energía y materias primas, no estamos dando el tiempo para regenerarse, por lo que los procesos humanos de extracción y procesamiento de materiales, combustibles y alimentos son causantes de la mitad de las emisiones de gases de efecto invernadero y de más del 90% de la pérdida de biodiversidad. Este sobreconsumo de la naturaleza es alarmante porque si se cumplen las proyecciones y la población mundial alcanza los 9.600 millones de personas para el año 2050, la ONU ha estimado que podría necesitar el equivalente a casi 3 planetas para disponer de los recursos naturales para sostener el estilo de vida actual. Por ello, es prioritario implementar herramientas de política pública en favor de la conservación y el uso sustentable de la diversidad biológica, con un enfoque de integración de procesos económicos, sociales, ambientales, políticos y bioculturales, que fortalezcan las políticas públicas complementarias orientadas a los medios de vida sustentable. Es importante repensar las ciudades del futuro y a partir de ello replantear las necesidades y dinámicas de movilidad de personas, considerar infraestructura verde intraurbana, transformar nuestras ciudades y fortalecer la coordinación con otros órdenes de gobierno para transitar hacia un nuevo modelo de vida urbana. En síntesis, el desarrollo urbano plantea muchos retos derivados de las ciudades y los estilos de vida urbanos. Sin embargo, los ecosistemas naturales o transformados por el hombre ofrecen oportunidades de aprendizaje e inspiración para aprender a vivir con la naturaleza, respetarla y conservarla. Para ello, se deben realizar estrategias que permitan aumentar el potencial de la naturaleza y al mismo tiempo disfrutar de sus beneficios, involucrando a la población mediante la sensibilización y la capacitación. De esta manera, se puede implementar un modelo de crecimiento verde que minimice el impacto de la pandemia, avance hacia el cumplimiento de los objetivos de desarrollo sostenible y hacia una economía baja en carbono, inclusiva y eficiente con el uso de los recursos. En Yucatán ya hemos dado grandes pasos en la implementación de estos modelos de crecimiento verde. Por ejemplo, el Plan Estatal de Desarrollo del Estado de Yucatán, documento rector de las políticas públicas de esta administración, fue diseñado apropiándose de los principios y valores que persiguen los ODS de las Naciones Unidas. Este plan contempla el eje Yucatán Verde y Sustentable, donde se integran más de 50 líneas de acción para mejorar el manejo sustentable del medio ambiente, para después que sean materializadas en acciones o programas específicos. Por poner un ejemplo, en tema de movilidad, recientemente creamos el Plan de Infraestructura de Ciclovías que contempla 72 nuevos kilómetros de ciclovías en la capital del estado de Yucatán, la ciudad de Mérida. Gracias a las acciones que hemos implementado en materia de sustentabilidad, nos hemos percatado de lo importante que es la existencia de un plan estratégico de infraestructura verde, que analice los servicios ambientales desde un enfoque regional, que incluya la protección de las áreas naturales periurbanas y la interconexión de las áreas verdes dentro y fuera de la ciudad, como parques, cuencas hidrológicas y corredores verdes. Esto porque los espacios verdes y otros elementos naturales dentro y alrededor de las ciudades proveen servicios ecosistémicos importantes como la limpieza del aire, filtración e infiltración del agua al subsuelo, evitan inundaciones, reducen la temperatura, captura de CO2, entre muchos otros beneficios. Por ello, es necesario fomentar buenas prácticas de manejo del arbolado urbano y estrategias de reforestación. También es importante enfocar los esfuerzos a las áreas naturales protegidas, fomentando actividades compatibles con la conservación y el uso adecuado de la biodiversidad, como las unidades para la conservación, manejo y aprovechamiento sustentable de la vida silvestre, las UMAS. Por otro lado, tras la difícil situación que enfrenta el sector turístico por la pandemia, la Organización Mundial de Turismo ha recomendado aprovechar a la naturaleza, pero cuidando siempre las áreas naturales urbanas y periurbanas. Por ello, y para dar cumplimiento a las recomendaciones, en Yucatán estamos impulsando el turismo comunitario, abarcando el etnoturismo, el agroturismo, los talleres de gastronómicos, las vivencias místicas, el aprendizaje de dialectos, la ecoarqueología, medicina tradicional, talleres artesanales y fotografía rural, entre muchos otros. Debemos ser conscientes de que a pesar de que nuestras demandas son muchas, nuestros recursos son escasos y debemos ser capaces de buscar un balance y evitar el sobreconsumo del planeta. Según datos del Global Footprint Network, en la actualidad se requiere 1.6 planetas para cubrir las demandas de la humanidad. La cifra de nuestra huella ecológica para 2020 muestran que la especie humana exige actualmente un 56% más de lo que los ecosistemas pueden regenerar, cuando no debería utilizarse más del 50% para asegurar el 85% de la biodiversidad mundial. En otras palabras, hoy en día, la demanda humana supera 3 veces un ritmo compatible con la conservación duradera, incluida la estabilización de nuestro clima. Sabemos que aún queda mucho por hacer, pero también cada día somos más conscientes de la importancia de conservar nuestros ecosistemas y del papel fundamental de los gobiernos subnacionales para promover el desarrollo basado en la naturaleza. No hay que olvidar que la naturaleza y los ecosistemas cuentan con nosotros, así como nosotros contamos con ellos.
Gobierno del Estado.
Thank you very much. And I want to say to Madame Mirema, thank you for challenging us with those 4 action points that you highlighted. And as you look at our new leader, who's going to lead us from now to 2025 on this very agenda, Governor Villa de Sol, you know that we are going to meet your 4 challenges head on. We have informed, inspired, dedicated leaders that are ready to act, already acting, and showing us that together we can make a significant and vital and pivotal contribution to the UN outcomes at COP15 in Kunming later this year. So thank you for those challenges, Madame Mirema, and thank you to the governor who has inspired us with what he's already doing. And the other point that he made is how very interconnected our nature agenda in fact is to all the other agendas, development agendas, and all the other challenges that we are facing. And we are committed and reserved to make this world a better place under such leadership. We're turning to another leader now, this time from a local government, and Madame Valérie Plante, the mayor of the city of Montreal in Canada, was the very host of our previous World Congress, where we launched Cities with Nature, very proudly with her on stage in Montreal. This time we cannot do it in person, but it is again very much an honor to welcome and invite Mayor Valérie Plante, our Global Ambassador for Local Biodiversity Action, to address us today in this high-level plenary. Thank you, Mayor Plante.
Chers collègues, mesdames et messieurs, bonjour à toutes et à tous. En tant qu'ambassadrice mondiale ICLEI pour la biodiversité locale, je voudrais témoigner de mon engagement et réitérer ici le message que j'ai porté devant l'ONU en septembre dernier. Nous sommes à la croisée des chemins. Il y a urgence d'agir tous ensemble pour transformer notre rapport avec la nature afin de respecter les limites de notre planète. La crise que nous traversons actuellement nous a fait réaliser plus que jamais combien la nature est importante pour notre santé et notre bien-être. La diminution de la biodiversité compromet le développement économique, nos moyens de subsistance, la sécurité alimentaire, la santé humaine, ainsi que la qualité de vie des populations du monde entier. Mais heureusement, Si les villes sont en première ligne pour faire face aux enjeux qui en découlent, elles sont aussi les premières à se mobiliser pour contribuer à la protection de la biodiversité. À Montréal, comme dans beaucoup d'autres villes du monde, nous nous sommes engagés pour protéger les écosystèmes et leurs bienfaits sur la santé et la qualité de vie. Nous posons des gestes concrets en ce sens, par exemple en protégeant les berges, en renforçant notre forêt urbaine par la plantation d'arbres, en créant de nouveaux parcs et espaces verts. Nous préparons aussi des stratégies de pollinisation, d'agriculture urbaine ou encore des initiatives pour réglementer l'utilisation des pesticides. Nous ne sommes pas les seuls à passer à l'action, comme vous pourrez le constater sur le réseau Cities with Nature. Je vous invite à rejoindre Montréal et 170 autres villes pour y échanger avec nous des pratiques innovantes et accélérer le mouvement international vers des villes vertes. Si ce n'est pas déjà le cas, cela devrait vous convaincre de la capacité des villes à redoubler de vision et d'audace pour favoriser la biodiversité. Ensemble, nous sommes plus forts, notre voix porte plus loin, d'où l'importance pour les villes, les gouvernements régionaux et locaux de souscrire à la déclaration d'Édimbourg. Cette déclaration, elle est importante parce qu'elle reconnaît que nous avons un rôle essentiel à jouer et que nous nous engageons à prendre des mesures locales, fortes et audacieuses pour enrayer la perte de la biodiversité. Et elle lance un signal fort à la veille de la conférence des parties, la COP 15, de la Convention sur la diversité biologique qui aura lieu en octobre en Chine. À cette occasion, un nouveau cadre mondial pour la biodiversité pour l'après-2020 sera adopté. Nous devons nous assurer que les villes et les régions en soient partie prenante. Merci beaucoup.
Indeed, merci beaucoup as well to you, Mayor Plant. And again, thank you very much for flagging that flag for us around the world as Global Ambassador for Local Biodiversity Action towards COP15, where we are asking and calling the nations to adopt a stronger than ever new dedicated decision for cities and regions so that we can act for and with our nations, our national governments, to actually turn the tide around the demise of nature and our broken relationship with nature. We can fix it, and we start at cities. And as you know, ICLEI is a network for cities and regions of all sizes and shapes all around the world. And we have to, in this session, to pay tribute to Europe and turn to Europe for a moment to look at what is happening in the European continent. For that, we are turning to the very inspirational Lord Mayor, Deputy Lord Mayor Cheryl Jones-Furr of Växjö in the municipality Växjö in Sweden, who is also our advisor of our European Executive Committee for ICLEI on this very topic of nature and biodiversity for a European perspective, but also look at nature-based solutions and what that can achieve from a European but also a global perspective. Lord Mayor Cheryl Jones-Furr, please, over to you.
Thank you, Colby. Honorable colleagues, mayors, councillors, and dear participants, hello, and thank you for the opportunity to represent ICLEI's European cities in this session and to talk about how we contribute to the global nature agenda. I would also like to say a special thank you to Secretary Mariama for her inspiring keynote address. Her passion for biodiversity and how we as humanity need to make peace with nature is an important message in light of the ongoing global pandemic. I would also like to thank Governor Dosal and Mayor Plant for sharing their insights on how nature and the well-being of people living in our cities and regions are tightly connected. My name is Cheryl Jones-Furr, and I'm the Deputy Lord Mayor of Växjö, Sweden. Växjö is a municipality with just over 90,000, located in the southern part of Sweden, about a 2-hour train ride from Malmö. I'm an advisor to ICLEI Europe's Regional Executive Committee, and my portfolio includes biodiversity and nature-based solutions. Where we live in our cities and regions is where the nature agenda is taking place. Questions about how we can adapt to the environmental changes already happening in our cities are being raised at city council meetings across the globe. Flooding, drought, heat waves, these are problems we have had to find new ways of addressing. And the citizens of our cities and regions are relying on us to provide them with solutions that create safe and healthy living spaces. At the same time, Our cities are growing, and we must deal with the fact that urbanization is a significant driver of biodiversity loss. The climate and nature agendas have often been viewed as separate issues. However, we know now that they are in fact tightly interconnected. Both the IPCC and EPIS emphasize that there's an urgent need for interventions to halt climate change as well as biodiversity loss. Transformative change in society is necessary, and we need to ensure that integrated management across all levels of government is a part of this change. At the local and regional level, innovative nature-based solutions are smart solutions that can mitigate climate change as well as biodiversity loss. In our work with these issues, ICLEI Europe has built strong alliances with key partners, among others, the institutions within the European Commission and the Committee of Regions. These alliances help to ensure that local governments play a strong political role and have a say in relevant policy frameworks, such as the European Union's new biodiversity strategy. Bringing nature back into our lives is the theme for EU's biodiversity strategy for 2030. And ICLEI Europe, together with our key partners, has been strongly engaged in influencing this strategy. This new strategy calls on European cities to develop ambitious urban greening plans. These should include measures to create biodiverse and accessible urban forests, parks, and gardens, urban farms, green roofs and walls, tree-lined streets, urban meadows, and urban hedges. Together with cities and mayors, the Commission set up an urban greening platform under a new Green City Accord in order to facilitate implementation. ICLEI is coordinating this network nature platform, which will act as an overarching umbrella platform to all EU-funded nature-based solutions projects. Many European cities and regions are already putting local biodiversity strategy and action plans in place and are co-creating innovative nature-based solutions to bend the curve in biodiversity and ecosystem loss. In my city of Växjö, we have used several different nature-based solutions in our 5-lake restoration project. We are also planning a new wetland that will act as recipient for a wastewater plant, while at the same time creating an attractive recreational area for our citizens and benefiting the biodiversity of the region. Next year, when we all meet in Malmö, I hope you will visit Växjö, but also the district of Augustenborg in Malmö. Here, a regeneration project using nature-based solutions has resulted in, among other things, improved stormwater management, increased green space, and new green roofs. ICLEI is an important champion for many nature initiatives, integrating biodiversity with sustainable development objectives and activities in cities and regions. Several of these initiatives have been mentioned earlier in this session, including Cities with Nature, the Green City Accord with its network nature, as well as the Edinburgh Declaration, an initiative of the Scottish Government. As we look towards the future, ICLEI Europe will continue to engage in key international policy processes and initiatives in order to provide an European perspectives on the post-2020 global biodiversity framework, including the renewed subnational plan for action. The CBD COP15, rescheduled for October this year, is increasingly being seen as the Paris moment for nature. I was in Paris in 2015, attending the sessions for local and subnational governments. And just as we did for the climate agenda then, we need to raise our voices now and together show our commitment to the global nature agenda. The primary goal of ICLEI's advocacy work with the global biodiversity framework has been to ensure that our voices, the voices of local and subnational governments, have been heard throughout the consultation and negotiation process, and that local and subnational governments are recognized as key implementers of the global biodiversity agenda over the coming decades. The UN's vision of living in harmony with nature can only be realized if cities are recognized and resourced for their roles in biodiversity protection. Nature is in our hands. So please take home the important message of mainstreaming nature in your post-COVID recovery plans The economic recovery that follows the pandemic must be green, and it must go hand in hand with nature's. Cities can ensure that this is done in a manner that benefits both people and planet. The only way forward through this planetary emergency on biodiversity and climate change is to take bold action towards a transformed world. We need to combine quality of life with low carbon consumption and care for nature. Nature cannot wait. It is up to us to take responsible action for our planet and for future generations. Finally, I would like to thank eClay and all of our speakers today for your engagement and commitment in addressing these challenges. And remember, together we are strong. Thank you.
Thank you, Lord Mayor. And let me also build on what you have spoken about when you talked about together we are stronger. Of course, ICLEI is a leading network in this space for cities and regions around nature and biodiversity. But we do not do this alone. We open up and we have so many wonderful and amazing partners around the world. And let me take a moment to mention just a few of them. Regions 4, who's been with us for a long, long time on the advocacy platforms. And you will remember Elizabeth Marema mentioned 6 key decisions that the UN has taken at the CBD convention level on cities and regions, together with addressing biodiversity, recognizing the pivotal role that we need to play at these levels of government when it comes to reaching globally set targets. So thank you, Regions 4, for that wonderful partnership we have with you, and alongside staying in Europe, the Committee of Regions of the European Commission, European Union, what wonderful partners we have in the Committee of Regions for driving the agenda in Europe, but also leading us globally in terms of what can be achieved through advocacy channels and through engaging with national governments and indeed also with the UN. And of course, the Government of Scotland for putting forward boldly the Edinburgh Declaration, which I really ask every single ICLEI member that is here today and every single member of the ICLEI community to sign and commit to as the Government of Scotland has proposed. And then also the Government of Quebec. Montreal, we've heard from Montreal, but what a wonderful example of multi-level governance between the levels of government we see in Quebec, Canada, and in Montreal. Thank you very much, Quebec, for your partnership. And of course, also, I cannot not mention the very, very committed group of leading subnational governments under the leadership of Aichi, where the first Aichi targets for this decade, 2010 to 2021, have been set in stone at the COP in Nagoya in Aichi in 2010. Thank you very much for the leadership and the partnership and the camaraderie and standing together to making it possible to have such a strong voice for cities and regions at the global stage. And indeed, we will go hand in hand together to COP15 to make sure that that dedicated decision for local and subnational governments is adopted and in fact endorsed by all the parties of the CBD. And now, we have heard about COP15. What a big moment awaits us this year. Was it not for COVID-19, we would have had that moment in 2020. But now in 2021, in October, most likely, we are going to have COP15 taking place in Kunming, in Yunnan, in China. And we are very pleased and privileged to have the Deputy Mayor of Kunming, Mr. Liu Yonglu, present with us today to make an address. He is the Deputy Mayor of Kunming Municipal People's Government of China and is going to be the host city for COP15, the historic COP that is going to set us on a new course, restoring humanity's relationship with nature. Deputy Mayor, over to you.
尊敬的穆林马执行秘书，尊敬的各位市长、国际组织负责人、女士们、先生们，大家下午好。今天 我很荣幸参加易可成地方可持续发展协会2021至2022全球大会基于自然的发展高层对话论坛。首先，我仅代表昆明市人民政府对主办方的邀请表示感谢，对易可成2021至2022全球大会的召开表示诚挚的祝贺。基于自然的解决方案，倡导人与自然和谐共生。我国践行尊重自然、顺应自然、保护自然的生态文明理念，坚持人与自然和谐共生是生态文明建设的核心要义，其生态效益优先的思想与基于自然的解决方案有异曲同工之妙。云南素有动植物王国和世界花园的美誉，是我国17个生物多样性关键地区，地处全球36个生物多样性热点地区的东喜马拉雅、西南山地和印缅地区及其过渡结合部，是我国重要的生物多样性宝库和西南生态安全屏障，生物多样性为全国之首，备受国际社会高度关注。昆明是中国西部地区重要的中心城市，市域面积2.1万平方公里，辖14个县市区，共140个乡镇街道。2019年常住人口约700万人。昆明是一座生态宜居之城，是享誉世界的春城，年平均气温15摄氏度左右，荣获联合国人居署国际花园城市异类最高级别金奖，上榜中国10大美好生活城市，是一座民族风情之城，是全国第一家创建的民族团结进步示范式的省会城市，是一座物产丰饶之城，有脊椎动物500余种，野生植物1200余种，花卉460余种，天然药物资源品种数量全国第一，是亚洲最大的鲜切花产销中心。COP15大会将于2021年10月11日至24日在昆明召开。昆明市人民政府高度重视生态文明建设和生态环境保护工作，牢固树立绿水青山就是金山银山的绿色发展理念，全市着力打好蓝天、碧水、净土污染防治攻坚战，持续改善环境质量，严守生态保护红线，完善重要生态系统生态保护补偿机制，建立自然保护地体系，修复受损生态系统，大力发展生物医药、花卉产业和高原特色农业等绿色产业，以高水平保护促进经济社会高质量发展，全市生态文明建设和环境保护工作取得了良好成效，全市林草覆盖率达到60%，森林蓄积量6057万立方米，空气质量优良率100%。昆明一直是生态文明建设事业的积极参与者，有诚意、有决心，为建设人与自然和谐共生的美丽家园做出自己的贡献。目前，昆明市人民政府正在积极筹备 第7届全球城市和地方政府生物多样性峰会，作为 CBD COP15的8个平行活动之一。本届峰会的主题是生态文明、城市与自然和谐共生。届时，我们将与来自全球的地方政府、城市、科研单位、国际机构和专家学者一道探讨地方政府和城市如何在推动全球生物多样性议程中持续发挥重要作用。峰会也将搭建全球地方政府和城市知识共享、经验交流和合作的平台，推动全球城市生物多样性保护行动达到更高水平，达成更多共识。该峰会已初步完成方案编制工作。联合国生物多样性公约秘书处、中国生态环境部、昆明市人民政府、易可成等主办承办单位正保持密切沟通，推进筹备工作。下一步，我们将细化方案，明确城市峰会会期、参会嘉宾、论坛内容等事项，有序推进峰会各项筹备工作。最后，借此机会，我代表昆明市各族人民欢迎全球地方政府、城市和合作伙伴以及来自全球的嘉宾，届时以线上或线下的形式参与第7届全球城市和地方政府生物多样性峰会，为推动全球的生物多样性保护议程和目标贡献力量，为更好地实践2020年后全球生物多样性框架，积累知识，提升建设能力，保护生物多样性，助力生态文明，共建地球生命共同体。谢谢大家。
Thank you so much, Deputy Mayor Liu Yonglu. And I want to say it is such a privilege for ICLEI to work with you as the host city of the COP15 to hold indeed the 7th Global Biodiversity Summit of local and subnational governments, which is one of the very few recognized, UN-recognized parallel events at the UN CBD COP15. And we're looking forward to October, where we can meet in person, of course, safely and as an inspired community to take this agenda even further and to make sure that not only every ICLEI member, but indeed every member of all the networks that we work with, the ones I've mentioned and the many others that we work with and collaborate with, will take up this agenda. And we've heard it yesterday and the day before already, that cities can join immediately and take action. Join Cities with Nature. It's a free, open, accessible platform where you can immediately learn, connect, share, and inspire each other. And also report on your actions on a voluntary basis to the extent that you are comfortable or able to do so. And inspire others to take action, because this is indeed the defining decade to act for and with nature. We may not have another chance. And it was only during hard lockdowns, and which we're experiencing around the world again right now, around COVID-19, that many people living in urban environments were deprived of accessing nature, walking in parks, just being able to access your green open spaces. And we felt deprived for the first time as a humanity from a deep connection that we have with nature. And it is a moment to actually reflect and remember that we are indeed part of nature. We are indeed nature. And now I would like to just also, because ICLEI does a lot of work at the advocacy level, at global level, to make sure the voice of cities and subnational governments are heard at the highest level in UN offices and meetings. But also we work on the ground with cities, with urban communities, through a range of projects and with a range of partners. I want to pay tribute to the founding partners of Cities with Nature, IUCN and the Nature Conservancy, WWF, UNEP, so many others, Cities for Forests, so many others that are joining hands to make this network a big open tent where cities can come together and share and learn and inspire each other. And we're looking forward indeed to, under the leadership of Governor Villadosal, later this year launch, together with these partners, Regions with Nature as well. But for now, let us turn a moment, few minutes of very short clips of a video that gives a little bit of insight to our ICLEI community about what ICLEI is already doing in this space. And after that, I will make some important announcements as we move forward. Thank you very much. Dear governors, mayors, ladies and gentlemen, we have entered the UN decade on ecosystem restoration, and today I want to once again say thank you to the UN decade partners UNEP and FAO for inviting ICLEI as a global partner in this initiative. From 2021 to 2030, we will be a strong and very active partner, bringing our entire constituency of local and subnational governments together to work on restoring and protecting our ecosystems, because we know at city level, when we make decisions affecting nature every day, whether it's land use decisions, building decisions, development decisions, the way how we live, the way what we consume, the way what we eat, and what we eat indeed, the circular economy, our consumer patterns, our behavioral patterns, we know that it's at the local level where we can indeed make a difference of the ecosystems in and around our cities, but also those far, far away. So together, we are one humanity on one planet, and cities and regions are at the forefront for driving change, and are with our urban communities, hand in hand, and with our partners, and with great gratitude to our donors and development aid partners who make our actions possible. We are committed to make this agenda of ICLEI a highly relevant and a very important agenda as we move forward. And thank you to the leadership of ICLEI for prioritizing this agenda alongside our climate agenda and our circular economy, low emissions, and people-centered agendas. With that, we conclude the session, but I want to remind you that in the next days, you will be able to see our upcoming sessions. And tomorrow, you can look at our past sessions, of course, by just visiting our website, our World Congress website, ICLEI World Congress website. But upcoming sessions tomorrow, we're going to focus on resilient development, also deeply connected with nature, of course. And then also in the afternoon, 4 p.m., same time as now, the low emissions development. And then throughout, we have decided to bridge us through to 2022, when we finally meet in Malmö in spring next year. We are going to embark on a series of webinars, very, very interesting webinars. And some of these you can already see up on the screen. And I'm inviting you to join us in Malmö next year when we meet in May. It is for 3 days from the 11th to the 13th of May, where we're going to have not only technical visits and network opportunities face-to-face, but also very in-depth workshops, high-level dialogues, and talking about action, inspiring each other, city by city, region by city, region by region, and all of us together. I thank you for joining ICLEI in this session, and we hope to see you all here tomorrow for our resilient cities and our low carbon cities sessions. Very, very important pathways for ICLEI in this virtual Congress, this first segment of a 3-part Congress, which we very proudly co-host with Malmö as our host city. Thank you very much for joining us, and have a safe day. Goodbye.